What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk Money. I'm Nikolay Timoshchuk Jr. and today I wanted to jump in and talk to you about how you can make money without actually having to trade your time for money. What is that going to consist of? And for me personally, with this actual, whatever you want to call it, with this like activity or this business venture, whatever you want to call it, is Airbnb. Airbnb, for some people are like, man, I love Airbnb. That's such an awesome thing to get into. Or you'll have people on the other side of the spectrum saying, Airbnb sucks. I've had a terrible experience with it. I don't like it, blah, blah, blah. So it all depends on the person who's actually getting involved in it, okay? You're still going to have to be involved initially unless you start getting a management company and you just, outsource that. You hire people to take care of your listings. But what I did is, I was traveling the world at one point, going from country to country, all literally around the entire world on my other YouTube channel called Back to Life. And while I was doing that, I had my house on Airbnb and I was making anywhere from like $1,200 to about $1,700. So anywhere from about $1,200 to $1,700. I was making that in 1 month. And just to give you an idea, to give you a perspective of how that works, okay, so I actually got my house on a 15-year mortgage and my monthly payment is $1,159. Well, I was making $1,200 to $1,700 from Airbnb. So while I was traveling the world, I was actually making more money off of my house than my mortgage payment. And I was only Airbnb-ing out 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and the common area, which is like the living room and the kitchen. And that's it. You could use the back deck. But I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and I was only Airbnb-ing 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and the common areas. So I was keeping my stuff separate, my office separate, and I was just letting that 1 guest room make me anywhere from $1,200 to $1,700 a month based on the, how many bookings I got and things like that. So typically when you're talking about Airbnb, you will see that you're going to receive, if you're in a good area and your house looks nice and your pictures look good and people click on it and you have good reviews, obviously, but you'll see about 15 to 17 nights get booked out pretty easily just because people book the weekends right away. So like me, for instance, I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I'm 15 minutes from downtown, and people want to go, if you stay downtown, you're going to end up paying crazy money, but if you stay too far away, you'll pay a little bit, but then you'll have to drive too far. So my house is the perfect middle ground. It's the place where you can stay, you can sleep and watch TV at night, and then in the morning when it's time to go explore the city or wherever you're trying to do that day, you can get out there and be there in 15 or 20 minutes, and it's not the biggest deal. And the mall is only 7 minutes away from my house. So, from a different, aspect of, okay, what's near my house, what are people going to be able to do? Are they going to go to events? Are they going to go to the mall? Are they going to go downtown? It just depends. And Chattanooga actually has a lot of amenities that, it provides, from, the Tennessee River, having the downtown walking bridge, having all kinds of cool coffee shops and restaurants, and then the Hamilton Place Mall, which is very close to where my house actually is that I'm making this video from. But essentially, my thing is, you can make really good money from Airbnb. And once your house becomes an income producing asset, all of a sudden, that mortgage, you don't even feel it. You know what I'm saying? So imagine my mortgage, and that's a 15-year mortgage. If I was on a 30-year mortgage like most people are in the United States, my, let's say, monthly mortgage probably payment would be, let's say, $900, maybe $850. So I would have been almost doubling my mortgage payment. And that's how wealthy people get wealthy. That's how normal people become wealthy. And that's how the wealthy stay wealthy and become wealthier. Real estate is one of those things that you can jump into and start making all kinds of money. But ultimately, what you're doing is having other people pay off your properties. Your property, it could be your land. If someone's using your land, if, it could be a storage unit, if someone's using your area for storage, if someone's using, I'm talking Airbnb here, but there's so many other ways that people are making that money and being able to create this wealth, for generations to come for their families. And especially right now with social media being so, prevalent and people learning from, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, heck, what was there, Facebook. There's so many other different things But ultimately, what people are doing is they're trying new things. They're taking that risk and they're acquiring a property that, someone might have not looked at, like, oh, I don't want to buy that to be my, personal home. But what you do is you look at a property that you're like, hey, that's actually a pretty solid property. If I, flip it, put some new paint in it, put some crown molding, dress it up a little bit, make it look, modern, if that's what you're going for, add a few plants in there, a few little things, some signs, and all of a sudden that house or that room or that whatever it is, your space, even if you live in the house and you want to rent out, Airbnb out your rooms while you're living there, people do that all the time. I've stayed in Airbnbs all around the world. When I was in Italy, I ended up staying with random strangers from like Denmark at a place, and we were paying the same price. They had a room, I had a room, and you lock it and everything. Obviously there's dangerous things all around the world. You could be walking down the street and get mugged, but ultimately what was crazy is to realize is that if you want to become wealthy, you got to do things that wealthy people are doing. And real estate is one of those things. And for me, it's Airbnb. I'm not a big long-term rental play type of guy, just because when people get comfortable in your home, they beat it up. Okay, so this is one of the positives that I have about Airbnb. So if someone just, takes out a year contract and rents your house for a full year, by the time you get that house back, yeah, you got their security deposit, but ultimately it's probably going to beat up, especially if they have kids. I mean, what are you going to do? Get mad that kids were, putting their hands on the walls or beating them up or drawing on the walls? That's just normal life. Like, who didn't do stuff like that as a kid? But what Airbnb does is people are only there for 2 or 3 days, maybe 4 or 5. Some people book it for a week. But ultimately, they leave, and they don't want a bad review as a customer. They don't want that consumer review to be bad as well. So people are, cleaning up after themselves. It's crazy. Sometimes when I was across the world, I was actually in Dubai when I first started Airbnb. No, I was in Hawaii, but then when I got to Dubai, there were so many people coming through by that time that it was crazy, because people would actually take all the sheets, put them in the washer, start the washer before my cleaning crew came in just to spruce it up for the next guest. They put all the dishes and everything in the dishwasher. So ultimately it was like, okay, this is crazy. People really are trying to leave it as clean as possible so that you're not sitting there having to really, clean like crazy after them. And you got to have rules. I have rules in place on my listings. I make sure that I don't allow certain things. And, for some people like, oh, well, you're being a Karen and blah, blah, blah. Well, hey, that's why you need to go find another Airbnb. And that's why my house is still in pristine condition. So there are rules and stipulations you need to set in place, things you want to deal with and things you don't want to deal with. And if your guests are not complying with your rules, guess what? You can kick them out right then and there. I mean, Airbnb is very structured. And for me, I love Airbnb just for the simple fact that you get that freedom of I don't feel like doing that this week, so I'm just going to block it off. But ultimately, you'll still probably make the same amount as you would if you were doing the long-term rental. You might even make less doing long-term rentals because people are like, well, the comps in the area are this and this and that. So ultimately, you're just looking at stuff and you're going, okay, do I want to make an extra $250 or not? In 1 month, I ended up hitting almost $1,800, $1,800, and my mortgage is only $1,159. How crazy is that? Ultimately, you're making money just so you can pay off that house. You're paying off that mortgage. You're building equity, and then you're reinvesting the funds that you're getting from that excess. So, an extra $500 or $600 a month over 12 months, heck, you can build that up in 3 years to go buy you another investment property. All you need is 20% down and a good credit score. So ultimately, what you're doing is creating these income producing assets and then flipping it from this one to another one and then getting that down payment, saved up until you can go into another one. And ultimately, you end up having 2, 3, 4, 5 different homes. And that's why you're seeing all these people saying, hey, I'm working from home. I'm no longer employed at a, job. And a lot of people, I'm an entrepreneur. I write books. I do YouTube videos. I have different businesses that I'm involved in. But ultimately, this is a side hustle, making that extra money, being able to pay off that equity, building that equity in that home. And then eventually in 15 years, guess what I have? A fully paid off house. Plus I was making excess money for those 15 years. Plus, I took that money, reinvested it into another property, and all of a sudden it's like, man, you know, is Airbnb out here making people rich? It can make you wealthy if you allow it to, and you actually want to put in that work. So if you haven't thought about it, think about taking the steps to, you know, list your place on Airbnb. If you have an extra house or an extra room and you're okay with that and you feel comfortable, list your property on Airbnb and see what happens, and just go with the flow, and then you'll figure it out and you'll see how easy it is, and you'll be like, wow, this is something I'm going to keep on doing. But anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I wanted to give y'all a little insight on what I do in order to make a little bit of extra money. I mean, like I told you, anywhere from $1,200 to $1,700 a month. My mortgage is only $1,159 a month, so it's pretty crazy. And ultimately, I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. And if you did, make sure you give it a huge thumbs up. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at NicoTJR. And I actually just dropped a new book called Stop Beating Yourself Up. So if you need any kind of self-empowerment, motivation, if you beat yourself up too much, check my book out. The link will be below. It's on Amazon. It's called Stop Beating Yourself Up by Nikolay Timoshchuk Jr. You can type that in. I got audio, Kindle, paperback, but this is a book that will really, really help propel you in life if you're having a hard time living in your mind too much. But anyways, without further ado, I will see you on the next video. Peace out.